Om Vagartha Viva Samprukto Vagartha Pratipataye Jagadat Pitaro Vande Parvati Parameshwaro Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripa Tamaham Vande Paramananda Madhavam Sada Shiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Parthaya Pradibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Gratitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitamritavarshiniim Bhagavatim Ashtadhasadhyayinim Ambatvam Anusandhatami Bhagavad Gite Bhavatveshinim Namostute Vyasa Vishala Buddhe Pullaravindayata Patranetra Yena Tvaya Bharata Taila Purnaha Prajwalito Jnanamaya Pradipaha Prapanna Parijataya Dotravetraikapanaye Jnana Mudraya Krishnaya Gita Duhe Namaha Sarvopanishato Gavo Dogda Gopalanandanaha Partho Vatsa Sudhir Bhokta Dugdam Gita Mahat Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. So we are in the midst of this Vibhuti Yoga. As I was saying the first day, Vibhuti comes from the Sanskrit root bhu, sataya. To point to any existence, the dhatu is bhu. So bhuti is the kritanta of that. Anything to point to manifestation is bhuti. And the upasarga vi, vishishtena, it puts even more emphasis to it. So the power of manifestation is vibhuti. Whenever we see glorious things here, Sri Krishna tells us, think of divinity. So he has given a way to understand divinity. This chapter is all about taking us to that way by which we can experience divinity. It's all about experiencing divinity. There is no point in keeping divinity as a concept which the intellectual brain is able to assimilate and understand. I think that is of no use. It must be experienced. Divinity must be experienced. It is not a rational idea which needs to be memorized and understood in all its language. So Vibhuti is for that. We all have to experience divinity, and Sri Krishna has put in a wonderful mechanism. In fact, the kind of things that he has selected, that's what I am going to talk today. Although he has selected 72 examples, there is a rhyme and reason to why he chose some of them. And what I would like to do is, of course, we just started on these categories. We saw 2 categories yesterday. I have redone the whole slokas and classified it differently, because when we do it in a day or two, we need a different way of understanding it. There are about 7-8 categories in which we find these examples. That's what makes it very interesting. So I want to show the categories. We will spend a little time talking about it. But most importantly, I want to conclude this discussion on Vibhuti to say how everything that has been told in this chapter seems to have a very direct relationship to everything that we practice in our daily life. I believe that's the best way to conclude this chapter, rather than just looking at these categories and so on. The other point which I want to once again remind, every one of us, notwithstanding the background, notwithstanding where we are, have this question, what is the relationship between Jiva, Jagat and Ishvara? Nobody can escape this question. We can push it under the carpet, we can postpone it by a few years, maybe a few janmas, but we will have to revisit this question. What is this connection between Jiva, Jagat and Ishvara? Is there a connection? And what is that connection? The second triplet of Bhagavad Gita is only about that. It's a very grand framework in which Sri Krishna finds Jiva, Jagat and Ishvara are coming from the same material, which modern scientists call as God particle. And so beautifully he said that in the 7th shloka in chapter 7, Matta parataram na kinchidasti na anyat kinchidasti dhananjaya mayi sarvamitam protam sutre maniganayida. There is not even a speck of dust other than me that you can ever see in this world. That 7th shloka in chapter 7 has been expanded in about 200 shlokas in the next 6 chapters, up to chapter 12. So the second triplet is connecting Jiva, Jagat and Ishvara. There's one more point which I made yesterday, I want to make it once again. All of us, in our journey in bhakti, all of us we have bhakti, nobody can escape this again. We can delay it, we can do it half-heartedly, but a day will come we will understand the meaning of bhakti. All of us go through 3 stages of bhakti. Swami Paramatmananda keeps saying that, I keep hearing it often. He says we start with the Ekarupa bhakti. There is an Ishta Devata, there is some idea, there is this Omkara, some forms and some signals and some Guru and some Ishta Devata. That's how we are trying to channelize this notion of bhakti. But that is Prakrita bhakti in some sense. The next stage is to go from Ekarupa bhakti to Anekarupa bhakti. The true bhakta is one who is able to broad base his understanding of divinity. That's what Vibhuti Yoga is going to take us to. It is Aneka Rupa Bhakti. And from Aneka Rupa Bhakti, the pinnacle of bhakti goes to Arupa Bhakti. It is Nirguna Upasana. These are all Saguna Upasanas in some sense. In chapter 12, it is introduced and then it is taken from there. So those are the nice things. Another 2 very interesting logic we must understand. This is not true of bhakti and divinity, it is true of what we do in our personal life. If you want to understand something very well, Jnatva Sattvataha, that word is used a few times in Bhagavad Gita, Sattvataha, understand it at the bottom of the concept. If you have to understand, there are only 2 ways to do it. The first is, we have to see the one in the many. Just to give you an example, yesterday I was making this point, if you want to understand something about gold, or what all can happen with gold, the best way to understand is see gold in 1,000 forms. There's a gold ring, there's a gold necklace, there's a gold bracelet, there's a gold ear stud or whatever. Once we understand, oh okay, so this gold has so many forms. If we have understood this so thoroughly, we are ready for the next level of understanding, which is seeing many in one. Which means, the moment you give me a piece of gold, the universe of names and shapes must come in front of me. That is called seeing many in one. That is what Bhagavad Gita is taking us. Vibhuti Yoga is seeing one in the many, and the Virat Darshana is seeing many in the one. If we train our mind, if we understand this concept very well, tomorrow we just need one manifestation of the God, all manifestation of God we can see there. That is where these chapters are really taking us. So we went through all that. Arjuna's question. Arjuna says, I am not happy with what you have described of divinity. Bhuya eva kataya. Please tell me again. And then Vistarena. Aseshena Vistarena cha. And Sri Krishna says, Nasti antaha. Mama bhutihi, vastum. So therefore, if I start showing everything, there is no end to it. Pradhanyatah. I will tell you very important things touch here and there. That's where we were yesterday. We saw the first category. We will see that. Before that, I just wanted to take a few things from the essays on the Gita by Sri Aurobindo. Some of the sentences I wanted to just put in. First thing he says is, Vibhuti plays, in fact, it's a very interesting observation here. Amongst other things, Vibhuti plays a very, very important role. See, the moment we are awestruck by the divinity, that's the way we can cut our ego. Otherwise, this tendency to say, I have done, this is mine, I have done it, it is my glory, that becomes a very inevitable, logical way in which we may tend to go. So one way to really understand Vibhuti is to cut our ego down. So that is the point he is making, is the liberation from the limited ego and our elevation to the higher nature of a divine humanity which can happen. And then of course, Sri Aurobindo also says some compelling indications are needed, some links and bridges and some support, because seeing this oneness is not easy. The whole idea is very simple. At the end of the day, am I able to breathe divinity 24/7? That's not easy. So he says we need to train, we need to look for examples, we need to get inspired, we need to look upon something. So all those are very, very important. And he completes his discussion in 3 chapters. In the 3rd chapter, the theory of Vibhuti, he says, Godhead has been revealed in thought to Arjuna. There remains only the vision of multiple Virat Purusha to complete the revelation on one or more of its many sides. That's what the Vibhuti and the Virat is all about. I thought I'll just share some of these interesting perspectives from Sri Aurobindo. Since we are going to see the shlokas in a different fashion, I thought for the benefit of us, we'll quickly go over the shlokas because we are not going to see in this order. So let me chant these shlokas so that we know where things are. Adityanam aham Vishnuhu Jyotisham Raviram Shuman Marichir Marutam Asmi Nakshatranam aham Shashi Vedanam Samavedosmi Devanam Asmi Vasavaha Indriyanam Manaschasmi Bhutanam Asmi Chetana Rudranam Shankarashasmi Vittesho Yaksharakshasam Vasunam Pavakaschasmi Merushikarinamaham Purodhasam cha Mukyam Mam Viddhi Partha Brihaspatim Senaninamaham Skandaha Sarasamasmi Sagaraha Maharshinam Brihuraham Giramakekamaksharam Yajnanam Japayajnosmi Stavaranam Himalayah Ashwattas Sarva Vrikshanam Devarshinam Chanaradaha Gandharvanam Chitrarataha Siddhanam Kapilo Munihi Uchchai Shravasamashwanam Viddimam Amrutodbhavam Airavatam Gajendranam Naranam Chanaradhipam Ayudanam Aham Vajram Denunam Asmi Kamadhuk Prajanascha Kandarpaha Satpanam Asmi Vasukihi Anantascha Naganam Varuno Yadasamaham Pitrunam Aryama Chasmi Yamasam Yamatamaham Prahlatascha Daityanam Kalakalayatamaham Mriganam cha Mrigendroham Vainateyascha Pakshinam Pavatappavatamasmi Ramashastra Jashanam Makarachasmi Srotasamasmi Jannavi Sarganam Adirantascha Madhyam Chaivaham Arjuna Adhyatma Vidya Vidyanam Vadapravadatamaham Aksharanam Akarosmi Dvandvasamasikasyya cha Ahameva Kshayakalaha Dataham Vishwato Mukaha Mrityur Sarvaharashchaham Udbhavascha Bhavishyatam Kirti Shrirvachanarinam Smritir Medha Dhritikshama Brihat Samatatasamnam Gayatri Chandasamaham Masanam Margaseshoham Ritunam Kusumakaraha Dyutam Chalayatam Asmi Tejas Tejasvinamaham Jayosmi Vyavasayosmi Sattvam Sattvatamaham Vrishninam Vasudevosmi Pandavanam Dhananjayah Muninam Apyaham Vyasah Kavinam Ushana Kavihi Dando Damaitam Asmi Nitirasmi Jigishatam Maunam Chaivasmi Guhyanam Jnanam Jnanavatamaham. There are 19 shlokas. But what you find, just look at this slide for example, there are many things which are put together. Brihattama Tata Samnam and Gayatri Chandrasam is talking about Vedic knowledge. Some examples from that. That immediately follows is Masanam Margasishosmi, which belongs to a mother category. So that is why what I have done, I have taken these 19 shlokas, put them into 7 categories. And I have looked at those 7 categories because I want to link to that to some of our day-to-day practices that we have, why they make a lot of sense given these examples which Sri Krishna has given in this. So that's what we will do. Yesterday we saw one category, which is celestial gods, where we have these 33 Ashtapavakas, we have Prajapati, Indra, we have 330,000 gods. They come from these 33 basic. You have 11 Rudras, 12 Adityas, 8 Vastu, that make it 31, Prajapati and Indra. So all those we saw yesterday. So today we will move on to the second category, which we saw a little bit. So the second category of examples Sri Krishna has taken are all, I have roughly put it related to Chandas, Veda and knowledge. Giram Asmi Ekam Aksharam, that Omkara, we talked about that yesterday. Because the greatness of Omkara is used in all. In Karma Kanda it is used, in Upasana Kanda it is used. The entire, Mandukya Upanishad, a small Upanishad is on Omkara. There's a Karika and all that. But in the Jnana Kanda also Omkara is there. So Omkara has attracted the greatest amount. Today I want to show in the Karma Kanda how it is used. Saitra Upanishad Sikshavali, there is one Anuvaka, which I want to just attach, just to give you an example. Yajnanam Japa Yajnosmi. Japa is the greatest yajna possible because it puts no constraint on anybody. Varnashrama Linga Vedaha Kimapi Nasti. Anybody can actually, there are certain type of yajnas, you may say somebody has to do, somebody has to preside it, somebody has to conduct it. None of those restrictions on Japa. That's why Nama Japa is considered to be an easy and the greatest way. Just as doctors say walking is a very good way to keep the health, because it doesn't entail any kind of restrictions except for the willingness. In the same way, that's why Yajnanam Japa Yajnosmi. Jakaraha Janma Vichedaha Pakaraha Papa Nashanaha Janma Papa Haro Yasmat Japaha Iti Uchyate. Buddha is. That's why Japa is very, very useful. That's why Yajnanam Japa Yajnosmi. Vedanam Samavedosmi it's extraordinary to hear a good Samagana. Again, Taitra Upanishad ends with the Samagana. I just want to utter that because it's a very wonderful selection of the Vedas which attracts you very naturally if it is uttered with all its pristine beauty and perfection. So, Brihatsama Tata Samnam, Gayatri Chandasamaham, we saw all that. Yesterday we more or less saw that. I am only quickly going over it. Gayatri Chandasamaham, Aksharanam Akarosmi, as I was telling, if you open a mouth, Akara has to come. There is nothing else possible. The moment you open a mouth, Akara comes. So I think the whole Nada Brahma and the Sabda Brahma is indicated by this urge which comes out through Akara. So Aksharanam Akarosmi, Dondaha Samachikasya, Adhyatma Vidya Vidyanam. I was quoting this opening statement in Mundaka Upanishad. Shaunakaha Mahashalaha Angirasam Papracha. Kasmin Vijnate Sarvamitam Vijnatam Bhavati. What? Knowing that I will be known of everything. And Angiras says Paravidya and Aparavidya. This entire knowledge that we are used to, including all this knowledge, he puts it in Aparavidya. It is the Atma Vidya, which is the Paravidya. The others are all Apara. So that's why he says Adhyatma Vidyanam, Vidyanam. Atma Vidya is the ultimate perfect knowledge. In fact, all other Vidya are Avidya. In Shankara Bhashya, that's what he says. All others are Avidya. It is only the Atma Vidya which is pure Vidya. That's why in Ishavasya Upanishad also, he says, Amutam Mritya, what is that? Amutam Ashnute. Avidyaya Mrityam Tirtva, Vidyaya Amritam Ashnute. So these whole worldly activities are all Avidya. And by perfecting the art of doing it, we can only cross the ocean of death. Liberation does not happen. Avidyaya mrityam tirtva, vidyaya amritam ashnute. That is uttering in Ishavasya Upanishad also. That's why Atma Vidya is the ultimate. So he has chosen that amongst the body of knowledge to show the best in class or the benchmark that he wants to point to. So this is in Taitra Upanishad, in the Sikshavali. This actually points to Karmakanda actually, because the utterance that you see here, Omiti Brahma, Omiti Dagum Sarvam, Omiti Etadanugriti Hasmava, Apyo Shravayatya Shravayanti, Omiti Samani Gayanti, Ogum Shomiti Sastrani Sagum Santi, Omitvatvaryur Pradigaram Pradigranati, Omiti Brahma Prasauti, Omityagnihodram Anujanati. In fact, look at this middle part. Advaryahu Pratigaram Pradigranati, when it is uttered in poem. And the Brahma, this Yajna, the way Yajna is organized, is a great project management principle. There is a Advaryu, there is a Hota, there is a Brahma. In fact, the person who officiates as Brahma must not be involved in any of these. He is the supervisor sort of. So Brahma is the Atharva Vedi because he should know all the three Vedis, three Vedas, so that he can know when the invoking is done by Rudra, by chanting the Rig Veda properly, whether the offerings are made properly by the Yajurvedis, whether the Samagana is done to please the gods after the offerings are made. That a Brahma has to see. All those are indicated here. So that's what this portion of Omit Agni Hotram Anujanati. It's all part of the Karma Upasana that we are talking about. If you may recall, chapter 17 of Bhagavad Gita ends with the description of Om Tat Sat. All these are Sri Krishna reminds once again. But I thought, Om Iti Brahmana Prabhakshyannah Brahmaipa Apnavaniti Brahmaivopa Apnoti. So this text, this Anuvaka in Shikshavali indicates the different facets of Omkara, which I thought I will bring to your attention. And Taitra Upanishad also ends with the Samagana, because this search for truth by this seeker, when he crosses all the Panchakoshas, he is in the state of ecstasy. So he wants to share that state of ecstasy, that's where it says, Saya evam vit asmal loka pretya, develop the escape velocity to escape this birth and death process. Asmal loka pretya, Etamannamayam upasankramya, Etam pranamayam upasankramya, Etam manomayam upasankramya, Etam vijnanamayam upasankramya, Etamanandamayam upasankramya, Iman lokan kamani kamarupyanu sancharan. He has crossed all these mortal things which can put constraints on people. That's what this paragraph says. He has crossed all those things which really puts restrictions on us, which constrains us, which prevents us from discovering the infinite power that we are. Ayam sarve amartya purushaha is what Shvetasutra Upanishad says, that this seeker says, I have escaped all of them. Etat samagayam aste. So Samagana is an expression of ecstasy here in Taitra Upanishad. Ha, uha, uha, u, ahamannam, 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 ahamannado, ohamannado, ohamannadah, ahagrislo, kakrit ahagrislo, kakrit ahagrislo, kakrit ahamasmi pratamajarta sya purvam devebhyo mritasya na bhayi vyoma dadati saidevama vaha ahamannamanna madantamadmi aham vishvam bhuvanamavyabhavam Suvarna Jyoti Ya Evam Veda Ityupanishad. So the joy of ecstasy, the joy of the bliss, the experience of bliss is when Samagana comes. That's why he says Vedanam Samavedosmi is because of that. The joy, that good things that we see in world are nothing but reminding us of that glory of the divine manifestation. That's why these examples are being taken. Of course, Gayatri we are aware, so I will go further. Then the third category of references Sri Krishna has in this chapter, and I have broadly put them as rishis and seers. I put collected from all these slokas, and these are the references. Maharshinam Bhrigu Aham. Now, in fact, of the Adi Sapta Rishis, people count Bhrigu and Gita, sometimes they count both also. But what is so special about Bhrigu is he is the only one who could actually, kick on the chest of Mahavishnu. A great Rishi, and there's a lot of Puranic references which we can bring to all these. I am not really going to do that today because our purpose is a larger principle. But anyway, there is a mention of Maharshi Bhrigu, Devarshinam cha Naradaha, Naram Dadati Naradaha. He is one who can endow jnana on us, who can endow that purity of bhakti on us. That's why he is called Naradaha. Naram Dadati is Naradaha. He is a great sage, so his reference is there. Siddhanam Kapilo Munihi. And if you read Srimad Bhagavatam, you will understand the greatness of this Kapila Muni. He is supposed to be one of the avatars of Sri Mahavishnu. So Sakshat Vishnu's avatara. So amongst the Siddhas, Kapila Munihi. Muninam api aham Vyasaha. There is very little to be told about Vyasa. Whatever we are today is Vyasa's, Uchishtameva. What he is left behind is what we are consuming today. Vyasochistam Jagat Sarvam. So all that we are today, all that we are going to be thousands of years later is because of the great work that's done by Vyasa Maharishi. No wonder we have Vyasa Purnima, which is of great reverence to people who believe in the ancient traditions of this country. Enormous effort in giving us this knowledge which we are benefiting even today. So that's the reference there. Kavinam Ushana Kavihi. Shukra. Ushana is Shukra actually. Shukra. So Kavinam Ushana Kavihi. Pitranam Aryama Cha Asmi. Amongst the Pitrus, I am the Aryama. See, as I have been telling yesterday, these are all these, important Vyakti in all this. We need to read a lot of Puranas to make appreciate why such choices are being made. So amongst the Pitrus, I am Aryaman, is what it is saying. And Prahalada Chasmi Daityana, among the Daityas. As I told you, there are 17 categories of Rakshasa, Asuras. So Daitya is one category. Right? In fact, out of which, I was reading somewhere, out of which 7 have been accepted into the fold of Devas, which is Rahu, Varuna, Aryaman. There are some 7 of them who have been, Shukracharya. These are all a category of, yesterday we talked about Danava. They are the sons of Danu. Danu is the daughter of Daksha. So there is this class of, so Daitya is Dityaha Putraha Daityaha. So Daityanam Prahaladaschasmi. Again, if you read Srimad Bhagavatam, we know the greatness of this Prahalada. I only remember one. I keep telling my students at IA in Bangalore, first time when they are coming for orientation, first statement I make, I address them. First session is given to me. The first sentence I say is, I quote Prahalada in Narasimha Avtara. So after this, Hiranyakashipu was torn to pieces. Nobody has the guts to go near. Prahalada goes near, and Prahalada begs pardon for all the wrong deeds of his father. And Narasimha Avatara, Bhagavan Narasimha makes a statement. The moment you are born, 21 generations are redeemed. Oh, don't worry. The moment you are born, 21 generations are redeemed. I tell this story to my students who come into IA in Bangalore. The reason is simple. I tell them that it is less than, I told them the day you have chosen to come in, we gave you an admission, the day you have chosen to come and join into IA in Bangalore, God has been kind to you, you are in the top half percentile of this country. You are in the top half percent. So I tell them, this thought if you don't have, because a lot of my students, we have 2 counselors, 24/7 we have counselors in our campus. I tell them, you have to first understand, I am reminded of this sloka, from Srimad Bhagavatam, the day you have walked into IA in Bangalore, you are going to be in the top half percent. If you still want to mess up your life, you want to get agitated, you want to get into depression, it looks like you are an LKG of understanding life. I make this reference to them until, so that is the greatness of Prahalada, of the Daityas. So Prahalada's Chasmi Daityanam. So there are set of examples which belong to the category of Rishi and, Rishis and seers. Looks like I forgot Gita. Rishis and seers. Looks like I forgot to switch it on for half an hour. Using gadgets requires a lot of alertness. Little distraction will. Yeah. Then there are a few references to what I call as human beings and avatara purushas. There are some references. So, of course, we see these four. Ramaha Shastra Bhritamaham. In fact, amongst those who are this has the mastery on archery, I am Rama. Now, we have to understand this, and in order to understand this, we have to read Valmiki. The description of Rama and Valmiki as a character is something extraordinary for us to appreciate. We need to read the original. Such a great, if we don't have time to read it, I think there is a wonderful short book called Lectures on Ramayana by Srinivasa Sastri. There are about 35 lectures which he delivered in 1935. Extraordinarily brilliant analysis of Ramayana. So we'll get if you want a very quick understanding of this character called Rama, if you want to have a very good understanding of the greatness. In fact, there is a nice chapter, I'm reminded of a chapter in that called Goodness versus Greatness. Because if you read carefully Valmiki, you will find Ravana and Rama. I was actually making this reference elsewhere also in one of my earlier Gita classes. Ravana and Rama were actually put on the same pedestal when it comes to greatness. In terms of skill, in terms of that, all that is capable of a person, Valmiki puts Rama and Ravana in the same pedestal. But then, when you take the lens of goodness, Ravana goes off the pedestal. So there is one lecture of Srinivasa Sastri called Goodness versus Greatness. So beautifully he has analyzed how Valmiki has approached these two characters. This character called Rama and this character called Ravana, and then he says that while both of them measured on certain parameters, when it came to goodness, there was no match. So this character Rama is an extraordinary character, and so no doubt that there is a reference of that which Sri Krishna has taken in his category of 71 people, and 71 items. Naranam cha naradipam. Amongst the human beings, it is the Lord of the human being, which is the king. One understanding, it is the king. There is so much of reverence to a Raja, and the Raja were worthy of that kind of worship that was bestowed on them. So Naranam cha Naradipam actually points to what moral high ground and what pedestal a leader who is supposed to lead a country is supposed to hold on. That is the indication at one level. Naranam cha Naradipam, he says, amongst these human beings, the Lord of all the human beings is where I am, because he is supposed to be an embodiment of divinity. That's why in chapter 4 in Bhagavad Gita, there is this reference of Rajarishi. He says, they all have forgotten. That's why chapter 4 starts with the first sloka. I taught to Vivaswan, Vivasan taught it to Manu, Manu taught it to Ikshwaku, all that. He says they taught to Rajarishis and they are all forgotten. That's why you are my friend, I am teaching you. That's how it starts. Chapter 4 of Bhagavad Gita. There is a reference to a word Rajarishi. Swami Ranganathananda so beautifully gives an interpretation of Rajarishi. Rajanam cha rishayascha Rajarishi is what he says. The Vyaktitva that you need to lead, these are all principles of leadership. The Vyaktitva that you need to lead an organization must have a Raja component and a Rishi component. The Raja component is the embodiment of power, endowment to take action, that vitality of energy, all those come from the Raja component. The Rishi component is the endowment of spirituality. The detached attachment with which you have to engage in the activities. So he says the winning combination is somebody who can be a Rajarishi. So if a head of an organization or a country can be like that, they are worthy of this description. Naranam cha Naradipam. They are worthy of this description. Vrishninam Vasudevosmi. Amongst the Vrishni tribe, he says, I am Vasudeva. He is pointing to this Vasudeva. And he says, and Pandavanam cha Dhananjaya. Amongst the Pandavas, I am Dhananjaya. And these words, whenever the best descriptions are to be made for Arjuna, it should have something to do with archery. That's the best adjective for him.
Dhananjaya. Because that is the speciality of these characters. That's the best adjective that he has used. That is why Pandavanam Dhananjaya has. So these are some of the references that you see in Avatara Purushas and human beings and so on. It's another category in which I find 4. Then there is a large category of 15 items which I put it under animal kingdom, plant kingdom and a larger issue of nature. So we start with, in fact, in this chapter, in this Vibhuti, if you have to understand some of these references, as I told you, Purana knowledge will be very, very useful. And again, as Swami Paramarthananda says, there are two stories you should be very thorough with. One is Amrita Matanam, another is Ganga Avatarana. Bhagirath bringing Ganges to the, and because most of these references, these are very popular stories also which are being produced. He keeps saying that again and again. You find many of them from there. So Uchchaishravas, there are 14 items which came when the thing was churned, right? When the ocean of milk was churned, 14 items came out of it. So 4 or 5 of them are here. They are the list that you find. Dhanvantri, we have this Syamantakamani, we have Lakshmi, we have Uchchaishravas, all Airavata. So some of them are here, Kamadhenu. So he says, Uchchaishravasam Viddimam Amrutodbhavam. So that ocean of milk is the Amrita. Amrita came out of it. That's why he says Amrutodbhavam. Because eventually Amrita also came in. So anything that came out of it belongs to that category. So he says Uchchaishravas, which is this heavenly horse. Uchchaishravas, amongst the horses, understand me to be Uchchaishravas. That's what he says. Dhenunam asmi kama dukha. Amongst these milching cows that you can think of, I am kama dukha. That's why in chapter 4, 9th shloka, 10th shloka, he says, if you honor the principle of yajna, you can say ishtakama dukkha is the word he says. Anena srishtva prajapatihi purvo, that's what he says. Prajapati created this world. He created everything. He also created a governing principle called yajna. You use yajna and then milk your cow of desires. That is the reference there. Ishtakama dukkha is what you will see in the 10th shloka in chapter 4. That's a very important principle in an age of materialism. We should know how to milk the cow of desires. We need a governing principle called yajna. Otherwise it will be an unsustainable. To me, yajna is a sustainability principle. It's a very grand principle of sustainability. Anyway, those details are there in chapter 4. Airavatam Gajendranam. Of all these elephants, I am the Airavata, the celebrated celestial white elephant is what I am. Airavatam Gajendranam. Satpanam asmi Vasukihi, which was used for churning the ocean of milk. So he says, among the Satpas I am Vasuki. Anantaschasmi Naganam. See, there is, if you read, you get different understanding of what is a Sarpa and a Naga. One of the frequently mentioned difference is Sarpas are all single-headed and Nagas are all multi-headed. This is one popular reference. There are a few more differences also. Anyway, so amongst the category called Nagas, and there is another research which says the Nagas are capable of speaking. They are closer to the human race. Sarpas are not. So there are many such references and counter studies which people are talking about. Anyway, that is of less reference to our context. Amongst the Nagas, he says, I am Anantaha. So that's a reference he gives. Mriganam cha mrigendroham. I am the lord of all the animals, which is the majestic lion. I am the lord of all the animal kingdom. You see me there. The expression of divinity you can see there is what he's saying, which is the lion. Vainateyascha pakshinam. The entire, bird kingdom, I am again the king of all that, which is the Vainateya, the majestic hawk that you can, or Garuda, whichever version that you want to understand. He says, I am the king of the bird's kingdom is me, the king of the animal kingdom is also me. Jashanam makaraschasmi. Of all the aquatic living beings, I am this giant shark that you can think of. So that is the reference he gives for the aquatic animals. Meruhu. So far they are living beings actually. Of course Ashwatha is also a living being. I should put it there. Up to Ashwatha, what you find is they are living beings. As I told you, the quantum of manifestation of life is different. God sleeps in rocks. God wakes up in plants. God moves around in animals. God evolves in human beings. So it's only a matter of manifestation, but they are all living. Up to that, there are examples of living beings belonging to the plant kingdom or animal kingdom and so on. So you have Meruhu Shikarinam Aham. Of all these peak ranges that you can imagine, I am this Meru Shikara. This Meru Parvata is what you can remember me as the expression of divinity in this category, is what he is saying there. Stavaranam Himalaya. Amongst this huge endowment of the dense populated plant, grama, or the mountain which is full of sasyas, I am Himalaya. So he says Stavaranam Himalaya. Ashwataha Sarva Vrikshanam. Of all the trees, you can see me much more expressing in an Ashwata Vriksha. You must see this Ashwata Vriksha, banyan tree. There are these 9 trees. We have a practice of worshipping that. I'll come to it later. This Ashwata Vriksha, the banyan tree. If you have no idea of what it means to develop humility, if you have no idea what being humble is all about, go and see a tree which is 700 years old. Just go and stand by the side of it. I went to Sri Lanka in 2001. I keep going almost quite often. So 2001 when I went, whole country was decorated and so on, and they told this is the 2600th year of Buddhahood. So they took me, that time the LTT and all activities slowed down, they took me to Anuradhapura. And in Anuradhapura, there is a tree, they call it as Bodhi tree, Ashwata Vriksha, they call it as Mahabodhi. They tell me this tree is what Ashoka gave while in wedding. He gave to the Sri Lankan king that tree. They say it's still. In fact, I was baffled when I saw the tree. Because I have no idea where is this tree, first of all. Because they have put silver, they have preserved it. They have preserved the branches. It's sprawling over an acre or even perhaps more than that, a single tree. So that is what these trees are all majestic. Nothing but majestic. And if you want to get it, that's why I am very enamored by the South Indian temples. I am greatly impressed by this idea of a tower, Raja Gopuram. Gopuranam Raja. It's Raja Gopura has a meaning. You just go to a temple with some 150 feet tower, just pass through it and stand in that Dwara passage, you will be humbled. You will find that you are nothing in front of such a huge structure. The huge structure always can induce humility. My own theory is because I have graduated from IIT Madras, I worked in IIT Delhi, I got a job from IIT Kanpur, and IIT Bombay also offered me. I went to IIT Kharagpur and Indian Institute of Science also offered me a job. There is one thing common I found in all these institutions. That is true in IIM Bangalore also. You come to IIM Bangalore, wherever you enter, the first place where you enter, there are only 2-3 positions from which you can come into the building. You will find the ceiling will be 50 feet. Because in a place of learning, if we don't have humility, learning is vyartha. And how do you do it? You do a tower-like thing. Put a massive ceiling. I have seen in IIT there are only 5 buildings. ESB, BSB, MSB, Mechanical Sciences Block, Electrical Sciences Block, Building Sciences Block. There are only 5 buildings originally. You get into any of those buildings, the ceiling will be 50 feet. The main building in Indian Institute of Science, ceiling will be 50 feet. So these trees are actually meant for it. You go near these Mahavrikshas, you will learn what humility is. You know how small I am. No wonder he has taken Ashwata Vriksha. It's a Mahabodhi tree. So Ashwata Vriksha, Sarva Vrikshanam, Sarasamasmi Sagaraha, of all these water bodies. A Saras is a non-moving water body. It's not a flowing stream. Saras is a stationary. The grand statement of that will be ocean, not necessarily small little seas and so on, not a pond. So that's why he says Sarasamasmi Sagaraha. Sagaraputra, Sagara is a big story. Again, that is all part of the Ganga Avatarana story, how Sagara came and so on. Masanam Srotasamasmi Jannavi. Of all running water, stream of water, you see me in Ganges. This great river called Ganges. You have to see me there. So he says Srotasamasmi Jannavi. Masanam Margasi Shoham. See, look at the kind of examples. You have to have deep understanding of, why he picked up examples like this. Masanam Margasi shows me. Of all the 12 months, he picked up a month and says, among the months, see me there. Now, it is the job of others to start interpreting. There is this famous saying, there will be a dark, small dirt on the forehead of the Maharaja of Nepal, and it is for the rest to understand it is nothing but, diamond. Diamond is in black. Basically, diamond is black. So there is a famous statement. A black spot on the forehead of the Maharaja is never misunderstood as a black spot. They take it as diamond and try to make sense that it is indeed diamond. Great seers write some words. Just words fall one behind the other, but it gives phenomenal meaning. So it's like that. We have to really understand the deepest implication. Of course, in our scheme of these 12 months, and 1 year is equivalent to, if you go to Srimad Bhagavatam 3rd canto, 9th chapter, you will find all these descriptions. There is a description of time from 10 power minus 5 seconds to 10 power 17 human years in one chapter. In that you will find that 1 human year is equal to 1 day of a celestial god. So if you see in that scheme of things, the Margasisha will be the Brahma Muhurta. That's why it's supposed to be a very holy time. That's why probably, Masanam Margasishoshmi. So that is reference there. Ritunam Kusumakaraha. This time when this Vasanta Kala, the life gets tripled. You come to a campus like ours, you will see the humming of the birds is some 4-fold or 3-fold at morning 5 o'clock during Vasanta Ritu. We are experiencing it now. So many birds. The whole life is with twice or thrice the vigor. So any expression of life is divinity. That's why he says, Ritunam Kusumakaraha. So you have a 15 set of items, which according to me, categorizes into plant kingdom, animal kingdom, and some nature, some attributes of nature. Then there are 4 references which talks about this great principle called Kala. Kalaha Kalayatamaham. Of all that, keeping of all measures, it's a measurement keeping. That's why you have in our mythology, we have the Chitragupta who keeps the count. Nobody, yesterday I gave this nice story. Yesterday I was giving this story. Nobody can escape this concept called time. We are all subjected to this larger principle called time. That's why he says, Kalaha Kalayatamaham. It's the greatest account, the perfect account keeper in the world known to mankind is actually this Kalaha. And we have our own experiences of what it is. And so there are plenty of experiences we have in life. We need to connect to this concept. Time is the ultimate. It keeps everything connected to one another. Ahameva akshayaha kalaha. He says everything will destroy. I am that undestroyable concept called time. Time is the only one which flows in a monotonic way. Does in all other variables can flow back and forth. This is only positive. Ahameva akshayaha kalaha. In chapter 8 of Bhagavad Gita, he actually brings about this notion of time very well. He says, Abrahma bonan kita punaravartino Arjuna. Then he talks about all those, that's when we can look at this Parartha. First day I talked about the 1000 yuga cycles which make daytime of Brahma, which is called Parartha, which is 14 Manus and all that which we are talking about. So this concept of time is modern scientists are quite baffled by the concept of time. They have their own understanding of this time. So he says, Ahameva Akshayak Kalaha. Mrityuhu sarvaharas chaham. I am the one which remains after destroying everything. When I, abhyaktani cha bhutani vyaktamadhyani bharata, I will wrap everything into me, which is called the night, and then put it back. All these punastam visrijasyami is what he says in chapter 9. Kalpado visrijamyaham. Kalpakshaye, I take it, then kalpado visrijamyaham. He talks about all that in chapter 9. This is this grand principle which makes this vyakta and manifestation and unmanifestation. I am that. This grand concept that you can understand is also mine. Sarganam atihi antascha madhyam cha eva aham Arjuna. This whole scheme of things, I am the beginning, the middle and the end. In fact, this Vibhuti started with that beautiful shloka. Ahamatma gudakeshaha sarva bhuta ashaya stitaha. Aham adihi madhyam antamscha Bharatarshava. That is a beautiful sloka. So these are all the repetitions of that with a certain reference to time is what we see here. So there are references of time. Now thinking of this ahameva akshaya kalaha, there are very nice things we can talk about. I took two very good examples. This is from Shivapara Kshamapana Stotra, Shivaparada Kshamapana Stotra. Ayurnashyati pashyatam pratidinam yatikshayam yauvanam pratyayanti gataha punarna devasaha kalo jagadbhakshakah Lakshmi stoya taranga banga chapala vidyuchalam jeevitam tasman mam sharanagatam sharanada tom raksha rakshaduna. Look at this concept, so nicely he has put it. Even Vairagya Shataka also, there is a beautiful shloka like this. He says unmatta bhutam jagate, that's what he says. Because he says we are too busy. Adityaihi gatairaharaha samkshiyate jeevitam. That's what he says. Bahukarya gurubihi kalopi na jnayate. I am too busy, I am too engaged with work. And what is happening? Janma, mrityu, trasaschanopasthate. People are dying all around me. It doesn't instill a sense of fear. In Vairagya Shataka there is a shlokam, equivalent shloka like that. But look at this. Ayurnashyati pashyatam. The moment we are born, we are not growing. Don't have this misconception. It's very logical. I don't have to do very illogical things. Let's say I live for 100 years, which is 36,500 days. I am born on a particular day. On the following day, I am only 36,499 days. Where is the sense of growth? It is a sense of shrinking. On the second day, I am 36,498 and so on. So, Ayur Nashyati. We think, because this physically we seem to be growing a little taller from, some 6 inches to 6 feet, we think we are growing. We are not growing. The day we are born, we are only shrinking. These are all, some magic show on us. That's what he says. Ayur nashyati pashyatam pratidinam. Yatihi, as a day passes by, in Ayur Rich, in Rig Veda, first mantra says all that. Every day when the sun rises, it's like one feather of the bird or one micro feather of the bird is being cut. That's a reality. That's a objective way to understand. That's what he's saying. Ayurnashriti pashyatam pratidinam yatikshayam yauvanam pratyayanti gataha punarna davasaha. The time flows only in one direction. Things that have gone are gone. Kalo jagadbhakshakah, the greatest eater. That's what he says. Ahameva kshayakalaha is what he's saying. Kalo jagadbhakshakah. Lakshmi stoya taranga banga chapala. The waves will break just like that. You go and watch in the ocean. There is one confluence of water, there is a wave form. That toya taranga, the water wave will become chapala, will just break, banga. So he says the wealth is only that much. It can just like that disappear is what he's saying. Lakshmi stoya taranga banga chapala vidyuchalam jeevitam. When death happens, it is lightning. That moment is just a lightning moment. Before and after we will make all our prayatna. Let us keep making. When that appointed time comes, because kalaha kalayatamaham. I am the greatest measurer. I will not live. I will never make an accounting mistake there. So he says, vidyuchalam jeevitam is what he says. Look at Vairagya Shata. Bhogona bhukta vayameva bhuktaha. We go after the desire, we get eaten away in the process. The desire, the Ayati story in Mahabharata is that. After 1,000 years, he said things were very fresh. It has only increased, if not anything. He says of no avail. So, bhogaha na bhoktaha, vayameva bhoktaha. Right? Tapona taptaha. We never did tapas. Vayameva taptaha. We are scorched. Tapati is, burnt. Taptaha. Kalona yata, vayameva yataha. Time is not passing. We are passing by. We have gotten into this life and so much has passed already. So vayameva yataha na kalaha. Trishna na jirna vayameva jirnaha. Trishna will not go. It will not become jirna. We will become jirna because there is this unquenching desire. We go after it and nothing happens. So that's what, all these about time. What this great concept called time does for us, and we have to understand. Then there are 14 divinely attributes and actions. See how subtle this idea is. It is not objects anymore. There are certain attributes. If you look for we say it in common parlance. When somebody does a very good, we say, he is like God. Why are we saying it? Because we see an expression of divinity there. So that is what he is pointing to. Bhutanam asti chetana. The chit shakti that you have is nothing but me. It is the electricity which makes this fan to run. Without electricity, nothing is going to. That is the electrifying energy. He says this one which has Chetana, see me, Chit Shakti Chetana Rupa, see me there. Jnanam Jnanavatamaham. The greatest expression of the purest knowledge is nothing but the purest expression of divinity. The greatest expression of knowledge which expresses through a Nobel laureate for solving a problem of the mankind or an entrepreneur who dramatically made a difference to something, I see divinity in all of them. Who said there is no divinity? There is divinity. The purest knowledge for the common good is divinity. That's why in chapter 7 he said, Dharma avriddha kamosmi aham. All desires which are not against the principle of Dharma, Krishna says, see me there. These have been told in different ways. Dharma avriddha kamosmi aham. That's what he said in chapter 7, 11th shloka. So that is what it is. Again, there is a problem with the power. First day also it happened. Yes. First day also it was wrong. Sattvam Sattvavatamaham. All this, Sattva, there are two ways to understand. One is this expression of Sattvic Guna is one way to understand. That is the nearest expression to divinity. Gunatraya Vibhava Yoga, we can see it very well. Amongst the Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, the nearest to the expression of divinity is Sattva, that is one. Or Sat. When you see existence, Bhu Sattayam, when you see the existence, understand that existence itself to be me. That's another way to even understand this particular reference that he is making. Sattvam Sattvatanaham, Tejas Tejasvinamaham. Of all those who are nothing but a radiation of knowledge and brightness and good things, what is the source for that? I am the source for that. So this again he said in chapter 7 already the same thing. Balam Balavatam Chasmi Tejas Tejasvinamaham. He has already said in chapter 7. Dandaha Damaitam Asmi. Of all those who give punishment, who are engaged in punishment for restoring Ida Dharmasya Glani Bhavati Bharata, Abhyuttanam Dharmasya Tada Atmanam Sujamyam is a shloka which you can remember for me. Every avatar Purusha is actually divinity. Why? Dandaha Damaitamah. When punishment has to be given, I am that rod. See the divinity that to restore the dharma, to restore stability in the system, we need this. You see divinity there. So that is what he says. Nitihi asmi jigishatam. Of all those who aspire and endear for truth, you see the truth. That expression of truth is actually divinity. So these are all attributes. Prajanascha asmi kandarpa. When we talk about progeny, when we talk about this great yajna that happens in terms of carrying this good thing generation after generation, I am express myself through Manmada. Kandarpa is because that is the desire which is the vitality for progeny. So you see there, divinity, you see me there. So he says, Prajanascha asmi kandarpa. Udbhavascha bhavishyatam. Of all those who are wanting to come up, that effort to come up is mine. That effort to lift up in our own progress, in our own becoming, our Vyaktittva progress, that effort with God gets into the progress is nothing but divinity, is what he is saying. Maunam cha asmi mukhyana. That's why Aishankara says, Mauna vyakya praganita parabrahma tattvam yuvanam vasishtante yavasaisham shiganaihi. That's what he says. The entire truth can be expressed much better in silence. And the most recent, most powerful expression of that is Ramana Maharshi. By silence he has addressed all problems. If you read, even some of these seekers like Mother and Arvind, many of them have this common thing. They speak less. In silence it is communicated even more. That's what that shloka is saying. Vriddha Sishyo Gurari or Guru is to Maunam Vyakyam. Shishyasti Chinna Samshaya. So, divinity is in silence. Silence has divinity. See the kind of examples he has taken to cover the ground. He wants to get the universal set of everything. Vadaha Pravadatanam. This whole, this may very well apply for a lawyer community perhaps. I want to put forth a point and make sure that things are correct. I want to establish that. How do you get that energy to succeed in that effort? That energy is... So every good thing, what is common to all these attributes? Whenever good things happen, what is our problem? When very good things happen, you say, I did it. Oh, how much effort I put? 20 days I have worked for this lecture. I can say all that. When good things happen, you take everything to yourself and say, it's all because of me. Moment bad things happen, you blame up to God. God is not spared. No, God has been unkind. I don't believe in God. What have I done? I have been good to people. So when you did good, God never came in. When you did bad, God was the first entity which came in. I promised one dozen tengangai coconut. God is not lucky enough because we see God as a transactional entity. Whereas the common message in this slide, if you ask me, all good things are nothing but divinity. A greater perfect manifestation of the concept divinity comes through good things in life. Whenever we see good things in life, please remember divinity is what Sri Krishna is trying to say through these examples. Indriyana manaschasmi, because manas is a super indriya. Without the karmendriyas and jnanendriyas, manas can work. That is what we are doing every day for about 2 hours in the name of dream. I run somewhere, I talk to somebody, I go here, I have a conversation, I disagree with somebody, I use my pancha karmendriyas and pancha jnanendriyas, but they are all inert. Manas has taken up. That's why Indriyani Dashaikam, there is a shloka in chapter 13. He says Indriyani Dashaikam, 10 plus 1. That 1 is a super Indriya, which is Manas. The definition of Prakriti in chapter 13, he uses Indriyani Dashaikam. Manas is a super Indriya. Of all the Indriyas, the greatest Indriya is Manas. That's why, in fact, I had a friend in IIT Madras. When I did PhD, unfortunately, he is no more now. He did PhD with me, perfectly blind. I think he became blind at the age of 6 or 7. He was seeing and then he became. I was stunned by his ability to describe the India-Pakistan one-day cricket match. I have not been able to find the detail which he says. He only listens, obviously. The point I'm saying is to think, in order to see we need the 2 eyes is a very preliminary thinking. That's okay to start our thinking like that. In fact, the word see in English is used like that. Do you see the point? When you say you see the point, you are not seeing the point through the eye. The word see you have to understand. For the word see, you don't need these indriyas. Maybe it is useful. Since we have it, we use it. If you don't have it, I find some of these, my friend, this particular friend, his ability to tell the finer things of an event puts me to shame. But I don't seem to look at it in that much detail. So that's why we don't need these indriyas. I think Manas can work without the indriyas. That's why in dream you don't need to have a glass. You can see things better, whatever be your power. Because Manas is a super indriya. That's why he is using the word there. Then there are some nice attributes, list of to-be attributes in ladies. We have put all of them together. He says, Kirtihi, Shrihi, Vaka, Narina, Smritihi, Meda, Dhritihi, Kshama. Very good. If a girl wants to know what should I be, but I keep telling every woman, if they want to understand what they have to be, I request them, please read Sundarakanda. The greatest description of a greatest Indian woman is in Sundarakanda. What a stunning description. Every time I read it, I have a hair-raising experience. There is a 19th Sarga. There are about 20 references there Valmiki gives when Ravana comes into the Antapura. Pravade Kadali, that's how it starts. There are some 20 references he gives. He says, Sita is like a very fragile banana tree which is completely destroyed by a cyclone of 100 kilometers per hour wind. Pravate Kadali, that's the first description. All that he says, he describes Sita was like that. Yet, look at the 21st Sarga. He really chews Ravana and throws him away. He says, what do you think of yourself? While Valmiki describes these ladies, throughout Sundarakanda you should see the Vyaktitva of a woman. What a great description and characterization. When Hanuman said, Mata, I will take you. And there are four times Sita says no. It's a beautiful sadhya. He says, no, you can't take me. Then there is a Vishwarupa darshan, which Hanuman shows. Then then Sita says, no, not that. I know that you are capable of. You know what happens? When you take me and carry, these people will fight. Will you take care of me or will you find it to be difficult for you? Then for which he gives an answer. Then she says, no, it's not like that. When you take me and go, what if I lose the grip and fall in the ocean? All your efforts will go waste. No, for that also Hanuman gives a reply. And finally he says, I don't touch anybody other than my husband. Now think about this issue. Here is a lady who she doesn't know where she is. It's an unknown place. We don't have a cell phone, nothing. She is in a godforsaken place. Her language nobody does, so she doesn't understand the communication. She is being tortured. She has understood why she has been brought there. When all these are happened, and when Hanuman comes and says, I will help you, first thing we have to do is get back and go away with him. See the strength of this character called Sita. She says no. In fact, Utsahaha Paurusham Dairi Anusam Sim, there is a beautiful sloka. Vikramascha Prabhavasa Santivanara Dagare. He says, what do you think about Rama? That inner strength, today's gents don't have. It's all about inner strength. It's all about the strength of the Vyaktitva. So these are the properties, these are nice attributes for a woman to be. So he says, if you see these nice attributes, see me in God, see God in women, because they exhibit these. That's what he says, Kirtihi, Shrihi. There is a sense of this prosperity that they should also display, notwithstanding what it is. What? Your restraint and your ability to understand this pada, Narina, Smritihi, the memory, the meda, the ability to reflect and think, Dhritihi, that steadfastness and patience, Kshama. If you see all of them in women, see me, worship them, see me there, is what he is saying. Jayaha asmi, Vyavasayosmi, in all that relentless efforts that people put, in Vyavahara people put relentless effort to succeed. He says that success and relentless efforts both are me. That relentless efforts that comes and the success that comes at the end of it, it's my vibhuti, is what he is saying. Dataham Vishwato Mukha. This turn whichever way you see, all that the beholder or the supporter is myself. You see me. So what you see here is neither an object, nor a person, nor this thing. There are attributes. He has picked up 14 attributes and says, see divinity in attributes. So like this, there are several categories, he said. Then he ended the chapter with 4 shlokas, which we will go, and I want to just conclude with a few observations. How do you connect this idea with our day-to-day life? I see a fantastic connection between Vibhuti Yoga and these great things that we are supposed to do, which most of them are not doing, and they are laughing at them. I want to talk about it at the end, but before that, Yachapi Sarvabhutanam Bijam Tat Aham Arjuna Na Tat Asti Vina Yatsyat Maya Bhutam Charam and Acham. He says, there's nothing. This is Matta Parataram Na Yatkinji, this Dhananjaya is told in a different way. He says, Na Tat Yat Asti Mat Vina Tat Nasti. There is nothing which does not have a God particle. Whether it is Chara or Achara, whether it is Jada or Chit, whether it is moving or not moving, everywhere. That's why Prahlada had so much belief that there is divinity in this pillar. You or I cannot believe it. You listen to the story. You cannot develop that strength of belief. Prahlada said there is Narayana here because he is sold out on this idea. That is the strength of his character. So that is what he is saying. Yachapi sarvabhutanam bijam. This bhuta, sakala bhuta rashi, the bijam is me. The seed of that is me. See me. That is the core kernel of this sakala jiva rashi is me, is what he said that. Na antaha asti mama divyanam vibhutinam parantapa yeshaha tu uddeshaha praptaha vibhutehe vistaraha maya. He says, I told you in chapter sloka 19 itself, Na vistarena, asation and all is not possible. Because that will be an endless story, because I am everywhere. If I have to tell everything, it will take years for me to say. Same thing he says, Nantaha asti mama divyanam vibhutina. This glory of my manifestation that you see, this beautiful creation, is something which you cannot, enumerate, because there is no end to it, right? So, uddeshataha, approximately, I selected a few things here and there. Proktaha, vibhutihi, vistarena. I take a few examples and then sprinkled it in front of you. That's all I did, because I am everywhere. How can I enumerate all of them? In fact, na tat asti vina, that shloka, the moment I read that shloka, I remembered there was a chief minister in Tamil Nadu called MG Ramachandran. And it's not a joke, it's a very serious thing I see even today. In the recent Lok Sabha election, all the 39 ADMK MPs transferred their head and they were standing in front of Amma. This is very peculiar to only Tamil Nadu. But you know what, in MGR time they said, ministers were vying with one another and they were saying, sir, we are all zeros, MGR is 1. Without 1, the 0 has no value. Simple number says, if you don't put 1 ahead of 0, the 0 has no value. So that is what is Nahatadasti Vina. Without me, there is no meaning. I have remembered of that episode that God is the one, we are all zeros. Put the God ahead of us, we have value. If you take and put the God outside, one of my senior friend in Madras used to tell me, Mahajan, you know what ego is? Evicting God out. This is what he uses. He says ego means evicting God out. That means take the 1 out of the equation, it's all zeros with it. Yadyat vibhuti mat sattvam Srimat urjitam evava Tattad eva vagachatvam Mama tejom shaha sambhavam. He says, whenever you see good things, Srimat urjitam, whenever you see something which is good, so he has now generalized this. He took only a few examples, now he has given a very motherhood statement. Whenever you see good things, Yadyat urjitam evava mat, these are all mat vibhuti. Sattvam, whenever you see sattva, whenever you see anything which is, Srimad Ujitam, understand that. That is a very easy definition. At the end of the day, let me tell you. Good things are nothing but expressions of divinity. Tattadeva vagaccha. Try to understand from there. Why you have to go around all over? With the shloka, that's what he is going to say. Why are you wasting your time going around? When you see good things, that's where you have to see God. Many of us have this feeling. It's not a rocket science for us. We seem to have this feeling for ourselves. He says, these are all, teja, all that nice, good things that you see is my amsha. It's one part of it. The one part of it is described no better than in Purusha Sukta's first 3 shlokas. I end with that, but before that. Atava, bahuteneva kimnyatena tavajna. Why are you wasting your time trying to know all these? I have told you in very simple terms. When you see good things around you, that's the expression of divinity. What more do you need? Right? Vishtabhya aham idam krishnam. This whole world, I am pervaded by ekam shena jagat. This whole world I am pervaded with my God particle. If you have to use a word like that, if you understand that, why you have to exert your mind trying to understand all these separate details, why do you want an exhaustive list and so on? Understand the first principle of divinity. And that first principle of divinity is law of conservation of divinity. Divinity can neither be created nor be destroyed. Divinity can only transform from one form to another form. There is no other possibility. So that's what he says. Vishtabhya, aham vishtabhya idam krishnam jagate ekam shena. So this is how he ends this chapter. I will take about 5-10 minutes. Because what really stunned me when I read this Vibhuti Yoga is, I found our ancestors were extraordinary. Now there is a question in front of us, and we have seen all these 75 examples, we could have seen another 100 examples, all that. The question in front of us is, sir, please tell me, how do you live through this idea? I have not known the idea, concept is all fine. How do you live through this idea? If you don't live through this idea, this Vibhuti Yoga is a waste of time. How do I live through it? How do I experience this divinity which I have to see all around? I can't be just saying there is divinity all around. I have to get it into my way of life. This is what our ancestors have dramatically put in front of us. And these are things you know. I want to just connect it to this chapter. Just think of these few things. My only understanding is the only way to develop, the only way I will experience divinity is to develop customs and practices that make me think about it all the time. There's no other way. It should be part of my routine. If it is not part of my routine, you cannot ask me between 7 o'clock and 7:10 you sit down and then contemplate on divinity. After that you do all other things. This is like saying, 5 days I will be dieting. 6th day I will compensate for it. I'll sort out all the 5 days by messing it up so that I am back to square one. That's not what it is. Our ancestors have thought about it. Just think about these issues. First thing, how did they make us experience and live through this idea? This is the only religion as far as I know. This is the only way of living. I don't even use the word religion. This is Sanatana Dharma. This is the only way of living in which we have a pantheon of gods which numbers to 330 million. 30 mukkodi devargalu. 330 million gods. Right from the word go, they wanted to create a very large number of gods. So the divinity must be, wherever you turn, you must be able to see. Today we are ridiculing of that idea. We think it differently. That's the first thing they did. But they didn't stop that. They told us to do several things in our life, which many are practicing, many are not. If we practice it, we will get the vibhuti. What are those things? We have a strong belief, our ancestors have a strong belief in nature worship. Pancha Bhutas are to be worshipped. That's what Krishna said. The 7 categories is exactly mapping into what I am going to do. We very strongly believe in Pancha Bhuta worship. Today, many of us are, in fact, our gods are all only natural gods. We have Varuna, Pajanya, Indra, Soma, they are all nature gods. We graduated into some special gods after that. That is the second thing they did. So, from gods and devas and on a general platform, they said, let's move to nature. In fact, Surya, Chandra, all of them are part of it. Then they did the third thing. They said, we should translate this idea into Manushyas. That's what they brought Avatara Purusha. And they said, they not only brought, Avatara Purusha is a special category of Manushyas. So they brought that idea into that. So we have again a lot of Avatara Purusha. We take them very serious. Better we take them serious because they are the, better descriptions of divinity. Then we went one more. You can see in Taittiriya Upanishad when the teacher gave the convocation address, he said, Matridevo Bhava, Pitridevo Bhava, Acharya Devo Bhava, Atiti Devo Bhava. He said, worship your parents. Shraddha has come from the word Shraddha. Shraddha Purvakam Eva Shraddham. If you don't have Shraddha, you don't have to do Shraddham. That's why in Dharma Shastra it is told, if you are in such an agitated, adverse condition where you are not in a position to do Shraddham for your parents, you can go to the open sky and cry for 1 hour, enough. Bhava is the samagri, is the raw material for Shraddham. Why? Because we should worship parents. Everything that we are today is only because of our parents. There is no way we can forget it. So these old age homes is a Western idea. It is not in Sanatana Dharma. We need to worship parents. Matridevo Bhava, Pitridevo, Acharya Devo Bhava. I think teachers are gods. Atiti Devo Bhava. Guests are gods. So they pushed it to that level. So the conservation of divinity is getting more and more. Then we did something which others have. So far there are still some examples in other culture. Then we moved to the next. We moved to the animal kingdom. Just about 20 days back we had a Naga Panchami. Today people are laughing at this idea. They are saying it is foolish to worship a snake, foolish to do a go puja. That means you have missed the essence. These are occasions for us to remember we coexist and everything is nothing but divinity. So we have Go Puja, we have Naga Panchami, and if we miss the essence of it, this is the only culture in which all devatas have a Vahana which is nothing but plant kingdom or animal kingdom. Why did they do it? Because we want to attach divinity to it. How do you attach it? When you see the lion along with Kali. Now you attach the Vainateya along with Vishnu. We'll give you the Ganapati with the elephant or the Mushika. We'll give you. Like that, there is a very long list of Vahanas. Cockroach is a Vahana for Mahalakshmi. You read Puranas, don't laugh at all these. These are ways by which our ancestors are telling, please understand, otherwise you will never get this idea, you will only read. And that's the end of the story. So a huge pantheon of vahanas which are spanning from plant kingdom to animal kingdom, birds, everything. That's what we did. Then we went into plant kingdom. We have these 9 holy plants. They actually, you have atti, you have banyan tree, you have ashwatha, we have neem tree. These are pradhanya, ashwatha ukshana and all that. We do what is called amavasya somavara pradakshina. People are all laughing at it. And these are all to remind that you have to learn to see divinity elsewhere. How do I do it? Unless I practice it, inculcate that idea and then see it. So amavasya somavara pradakshina is not a time pass. It is to understand I coexist with you. In fact, in the earlier times, trees were not just like that. Our Vedic prescriptions are trees cannot be cut. And if you cut the tree, there is a very elaborate ritual and an effort to put a tree before you cut. They had a lot of wisdom. Because we see it as divinity. Cutting a tree, the way they use machines and cut trees is stunning. Because they have life. Ruthlessly cutting the way they are doing and so on, we never did that. Then we went one more step. I made this remark passing on first day. This is the culture in which the mountain is a place to worship. A river is a place to worship. The Sangama of 2 rivers, every mountain top you go, you will find there is a temple only. You go to the Moolasthana of Godavari or Kaveri, you will find a temple. You go to the Antimasthana of Godavari, which is Rajamundri, you will find a temple. For us, rivers are God. Mountains are God. Anything which looks great is God. These are great places. It really brings you to, the calmness. Such places also our ancestors told better worship. Understand divinity is there. How do you understand it? Worship it. Then the last thing. You may be wondering, what is this Sahasranama? This is another intelligent way to think of a particular God in 1,000 different ways. And if you actually understand the meaning of the Sahasranama, they are very deep. See, we mechanically 20 minutes morning we say and go. There is a very deep meaning. So what I am trying to say is all categories that Krishna has enumerated, of course he mixed it up in the shlokas, for our concise thing I want to do it. All these are directly connected to everything that this great culture was supposed to do. Still a lot of people are doing, a lot more people are laughing at it. And they are laughing at it out of ignorance. It's simple logic. Divinity, the universality of divinity can only be experienced when you live through it. Not by reading it as an idea and putting it in a book and doing a puja for the book. That will never happen. If we do it, we will not assault the nature that we are doing now. We will be more responsible, we will be more sustainable, we will have our Atma Vyaktitva. That spruha will happen. I think we will flower. Our individual character will flourish and flower. That is the prescription I see in all these practices. Today we don't see it. We don't see it. A lot of us don't see it. We ridicule it. Westerners ridicule it because they don't come from this paradigm at all. Whereas we have this great paradigm, Matta Parataram Nayanyat Kinchidasti Dhananjaya, Mayi Sarvamidam Protam, Sutre Manigana. We are from that paradigm. Let us live through that. That is the greatness of this chapter. This chapter, in my opinion, completely links to our day-to-day practice. It makes us experience the law of conservation of divinity. If we take those social practices, religious practices and put meaning into it, very soon we will have the Guru Kadaksha and Bhagavad Anugraha. We will experience divinity. I think that's what we are all really striving in our life. I think on this note, I will just stop. He said, Ekam Shena. He said, all these I have just Ekam Shena Stito Jagate. That is the last shloka. The first 2 mantras in Purusha Sukta actually says that. I will just utter that mantras and then we will close it. Sahasra Seirisha Purusha Sahasraksha Sahasrapat Sabhumim Vishwato Vritva Atyadishtat Tashangulam. It looks as though he is protruding by another 10 inches. This is a very figurative usage. You have to see Indian wisdom, Indian literature cannot be read the way you read science or it's not some analytical piece. Ashtadishtat Tashangulam, he says he is greater than everything. How do you figuratively say it is protruding more than everything else? It's a very figurative way of saying. Purusha yevetagum sarvam yad bhutam yad chabhavyam utamritatvasyeeshanah yadannena tirohati yetavanasya asya mahima yetavanasti yetavanasya mahima ato jayadischa purushah pado osya vishwa ekamshena stito jagat comes here. That's what he says. It is just one quarter. This whole expression of this universe, people do not know what is this universe. It is, how large it is, science is still finding out. But even all that he says is 1/4. He says, Pado Sya Vishwa Bhutani Tripadasya Mritan Divi. So that is what he is saying. On this note, by the grace of Lord Krishna and the blessings of Sri Aurobindo and the mother, we had a satsanga for 3 days. I know we have 1,000 things to do. We don't have necessarily come here. It is the grace of the Lord that we chose to come here and share some ideas, and I am very thankful to the organizers for providing an opportunity for satsanga, and I pray to Lord Krishna that our journey in this spiritual progress gets shigrameva sapalata bhavatu. Let it happen as the earliest that it can happen. Let this Vyaktitva flower into fullness and perfection. With these prayers to Lord Krishna, I think we will conclude this discussion. Om Tat Saditi Srimad Bhagavad Gitasu Upanishatsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjuna Sambhade Vibhuti Yogo Nama Dashamodhyaya. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryan Karavavahai Tejasvinavati Tamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sri Krishna Arpanamastu. Shri Guru Charana Ravindar Panamastu. Shri Guru Pyo Namaha Harihi Om.